For this video, we will be discussing another useful feature in Microsoft Excel, especially when we are working with and analyzing data. Our topic for today is conditional formatting. So, let's get started. First, what exactly is conditional formatting? Conditional formatting is an automated tool that changes a cell's appearance, such as its fill color, font, or icons, based on a rule or condition that you set. In simpler terms, it allows Excel to automatically change how data looks depending on its value or whether it meets a certain condition. Instead of manually formatting cells one by one, we can create a rule and let Excel apply the appropriate formatting for us. For example, we can tell Excel to highlight all grades below 75 in red, or automatically add bars to show which values are higher or lower than others. Now let's discuss the main functions of conditional formatting and why it is useful in data analytics. First, data highlighting. Conditional formatting instantly surfaces anomalies, outliers, and key metrics without scanning thousands of numbers. In other words, it helps us quickly identify important or unusual values in a large dataset without having to examine every single number manually. For example, if we have hundreds of sales records, we can automatically highlight unusually high or low sale values. Second, visualizes trends. Conditional formatting injects visual indicators directly into cells to allow instant comparison at a glance. Instead of looking at the numbers one by one, visual elements such as colors, bars, or icons allows us to immediately see which values are higher, lower, increasing, or decreasing. This makes large amounts of data much easier to understand. Third, automates dynamic reporting. Conditional formatting automatically updates in real time whenever value changes or new data is edited because the formatting is based on rules. This means we don't have to manually change the colors or formatting every time our data changes. Excel will automatically apply or remove the formatting depending on whether the updated data still meets the condition. Conditional formatting has many types and options available in Excel. However, for our lesson today, we will focus only on the basic and commonly used types that are useful in data analytics. The three types that we will discuss are highlight cells rules, data bars, and icon sets. Let's briefly discuss what each one does. First is highlight cells rules. This type of conditional formatting highlights specific cells that meet explicit logical conditions. For example, we can tell Excel to highlight all numbers greater than 100, values below 50, or cells containing a specific word or text. This is particularly useful when we want to quickly identify values that meet a certain condition in our dataset. The second one is data bars. Data bars inserts horizontal bars directly inside cells where the length of the bar represents the relative size of the cell's numeric value. So the larger the value, the longer the bar will appear, while smaller values will have shorter bars. This allows us to compare numerical values visually without having to focus only on the actual numbers. The third one is icon sets. Icon sets add small visual indicator inside cells based on percentage brackets or value ranges. For example, Excel can display arrows or other icons to indicate whether a value is relatively high, average, or low. This makes it easier to identify the status or performance of values at a quick glance. So to summarize, the three basic types of conditional formatting that we will be focusing on today are highlight cells rules, data bars, and icon sets. These tools can help us transform a simple table of numbers into something that is much easier to read, compare, and analyze. Now that we know what conditional formatting is, its main functions, and the basic types that we can use, let's see how we can actually apply these features in Excel. For this demonstration, gagamit tayo ng Excel Online and we will work with our sample dataset. For demonstration purposes, i-convert muna natin itong raw data natin into an Excel table. So we select our table, then insert table, then press OK. Para hindi rin tayo mahirapan sa paghanap ng mga nasa ribbons natin, we can actually choose here yung ating classic ribbon. Ayan, para kita na natin kaagad kung ano yung mga ribbons natin. Once our data is converted into an Excel table, we can now start applying different conditional formatting rules. So let's start with the first demonstration, the highlight cells rules. This type allows us to automatically highlight cells when they meet a specific condition. And take note that we can use highlight cells rules for both numerical data and text data. For the numerical example, we will use the unit price. So let's select yung cells. Take note that hindi natin pwedeng isama yung header at yung total row kung meron. Then we go to home, then conditional formatting. Here, we will select highlight cell rules. Under the highlight cell rules, we have different conditions that we can use such as greater than, less than, equal to, and other rules. For our demonstration, let's create 3 different conditions for our unit price. The important thing to understand here is that we are telling Excel, if the value meets this condition, automatically apply this formatting. So, for example, gawin muna natin sa greater than. So, in-apply natin siya sa 1, 2 to 111. And then, ang gusto natin, cell value greater than, let's say, 30,000. Then, mamili tayo ng format dito. Sa akin, gagawin ko siyang green. Then done. Mabagal ang internet. As you can see, Excel automatically highlights the cells depending on the condition that we specified. So lahat ng greater than 30,000 nilagyan niya ng green. Let's say gusto nating mag-add ng rule. Again, para saan yung rule na yon? Apply to, piliin natin yung buong cell range. And then piliin natin ang cell value between naman. Between 10,000 to 29,999. So this time naman, gagawin ko siyang yellow. Yan, automatic, nag-yellow din siya. And finally, magdagdag tayo ng isa pa. So we will apply that again to the same. Then select cell value, less than naman. Less than 10,000. Ngayon naman, gagawin ko siyang red. Lalagyan niya na ng formatting yung mga cells natin. This makes it easier for us to identify different groups of values without manually checking each other. So makikita na natin kaagad, okay, red siya, so below 10,000 to. Green siya, so greater than 30,000 to. And note that this is dynamic. So for example, maglalagay ako ng value na 3,000. Automatically, gagawin din niyang kulay red. So for example, ay 50,000 naman ang nilagay ko. Automatically din, gagawin na niyang green. As soon as the value changes, the formatting also changes automatically. The same thing happens when we change other values in our dataset. Excel continuously checks the rules that we created and updates the formatting depending on whether the data still meets those conditions. And that's why conditional formatting is very useful in data analytics. We don't have to manually update the colors, bars, or icons every time our data changes. Excel does it automatically for us based on the rules that we set. For the text data, gamitin naman natin ngayon ang region. So, iselect natin yung cells, go to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules. This time, piliin natin yung text that contains. So, check natin apply to, tama, F2 to F11. Specific text, and then, pwede natin containing, not containing, beginning, ending. Here, ilagay natin Luzon. Gagawin ko siyang yellow. So, automatically, si Luzon naging yellow na. So, what if gusto kong magdagdag for F2 to F11, then, specific text containing, ilagay natin, Visayas. Pwede tayong magdagdag ng kulay na gusto natin. Let's say violet. Tapos yung text niya white. Okay, done. So si Visayas magiging violet na. So ganoon din, kung gusto ulit nating dagdagan for Mindanao, pwede naman tayong magdagdag ulit dito sa ating conditional formatting text. This shows us that highlight cell rules aren't limited to numbers. We can use them for both numerical and text data depending on what we want to analyze. Now let's move on to the second type, which is data bars. For this example, gamitin natin ngayon ang quantity column. So go to quantity column, home, then conditional formatting. Piliin natin ang data bars. And then, pumili na tayo ngayon ng fill natin kung gusto nyo ng gradient or solid. Sa akin, piliin ko itong red data bar na gradient. As you can see, Excel automatically places a horizontal bar inside each cell. The longer the bar, the larger the value. And the shorter the bar, the smaller the value. You can think of data bars as a mini bar graph inside our cells. Instead of looking at the actual numbers one by one, we can immediately compare the values visually. For example, if one quantity has a much longer bar than another, we can quickly tell that its value is higher, just like here sa 15 versus yung mga 1. This is especially useful when we're working with a large data set because it allows us to compare values at a glance. Kita na kasi natin kaagad. Next, let's look at our third type of conditional formatting, which is icon sets. Here, magdagdag tayo ng isa pang column na papangalanan natin final price. Final price is equal to yung ating unit price times tatanggalin natin yung discount. To do the icon sets, just select our range, then go to home, conditional formatting, then icon set. Marami tayong pwedeng gamitin dito na icons. And for sa akin ay gamitin ko ang 3 signs. As you can see, Excel automatically adds small icons beside our values. These icons help categorize the values into different levels. In our example, Excel automatically identifies the transactions as high, yun yung green, medium, yun yung yellow, or low, yun yung red, depending on the relative values. So instead of looking at every single final price, we can quickly identify which transactions are relatively high, which are in the middle, and which are relatively low. This makes our data much easier to interpret visually. Now, what if we want to remove or change a conditional formatting rule that we previously created? Punta tayo sa conditional formatting, makikita nyo sa baba, meron tayong clear rules. From here, we can choose whether we want to clear the rules from the selected cells or from the entire sheet, depending on what we need. So, kunwari, gusto kong tanggalin lahat, okay, wala na ang lahat ng kanyang formatting rules. Or what if gusto mo lang naman mag-edit? Punta naman tayo ngayon sa Manage Rules. Dito, makikita natin lahat ng ginawa nating conditional formatting rules. So, piliin lang natin yung this sheet para lumabas lahat. Ayan. So, for example, ay ito, Visayas. I-edit ko siya. Okay? Kasi gusto ko yung kulay niya ay maging green na lang. No, ayoko na ng violet. So, automatically, nag-change na rin yung ating Visayas. And that's it for our conditional formatting demonstration. Remember, the goal of conditional formatting is not simply to make our spreadsheet look colorful. Its main purpose is to help us see patterns, compare values, identify important information, and understand our data more quickly. So, when you're working with a large dataset, conditional formatting can make your analysis much easier and more efficient.